Rest in peace!
Good day, STIer. Today we're gonna discuss taxation in different time periods in Philippine history. But first, what taxation is?
So today we're gonna discuss about the history of taxation in the Philippines from the time period of pre-colonial. So the pre-colonial period occurs from 900 to 1521. Back in these days, there is no national government, only so-called barangays that was operated and managed by datus or rahas in some places. So there was no datus strong enough to unite the archipelago into one nation. Some barangays, however, united to form a confederation, and it was headed by a ruler called the Dato or Raha. The ancient Filipinos practiced paying taxes for the protection from their Datu. It could be barter or giving their Datu crops and services. Then the collected tax or tribute was called buwis or handog. So the picture shown on your screen is the illustration of the pre-colonial period. Then the next is the three classes of men back in the pre-colonial period. There is the Lakan or Raha Maginoo, which is the noble class, known also as Tumao or Datu, the nobles that consists of the Datu and his family. Next is the middle class, known as Maharlika or Timawa in Visayas, or also known as freemen. Then the last is the lower class, which is the Alipin that could be categorized as namamahay or sagigilid, and known in Visayas in Oripon. Then only the Timawa freemen pay taxes since the Maharlikas and the Datu offer the protection, while the Alipin couldn't offer anything since they lived to serve. Thus, the highest and the lowest of the classes were exempted of tax payment. So, here is a illustration or picture of Datu back in the pre-colonial period. Next is the picture or illustration of Maharlikas. Then the last is the Alipin. So thank you for listening. Now we are continuing to Spanish period that will be presented by Miss Ilo.
Did you know that it was the concept of taxation when we were colonized by foreigners? Our ancient ancestors first implemented the concept of taxation. Our ancestors started paying taxes so that they could be protected by the datus or leaders of a community called this tax. Do you know what that two look like? Here. And do you know that except for the datu, everyone has to pay tax. Those who do not pay taxes are punished. And it is believed that the arrival of the Spanish in the Philippines was the recognition of modern taxation. 16 to 60 years old is obliged to pay taxes or tribute to the King of Spain in the amount of 8 reals in Philippine peso is 1 peso per year. They said tribute is needed to raise funds to maintain or hide the management of the archipelago or community, just like paying the salaries of government officials. Other means of payment of taxes was pre-colonial taxation in the Philippines, most required for the Filipinos, men suffered and debt increases. In 1884, change in tax policy. Here, cedula is used to identify whether who would like or should pay taxes. And travelers should always have this. Tribute is for every family, while cedula is every person only. Cedula is very advantageous for wealthy individuals because the higher the income, the higher the taxes. I may not be able to discuss everything to you, but here is my fellow classmate to discuss more.
Tax imposed by the Spanish government in the Philippines. Tax imposed by the Spanish. Taxes during the Spanish period was compulsory. There are 5 kinds of taxes during the Spanish era here in the Philippines. Number 1 is the tributo. Tributo was a general tax paid by the Filipinos to Spain which amounted to 8 reals. Those who were required to pay the tributo was the 18 to 50 years old males, the carpenters, bricklayers, blacksmiths, tailors, and shoemakers, and also the town workers such as those in road construction and those whose is public in nature. The second one was the sanctunum. Sanctunum was a tax in the amount of 3 reals. These were required for the cost of Christianization, including the construction of the churches and the purchase of materials for religious celebrations. The third one is the donativo. Donativo was the tax in the amount of half real for the military campaign of the government against the Muslims. In the later years, however, the amount collected from donativo was almost exclusively used for the Spanish fort in Zamboanga. The fourth one is the Caja de Comunidad. Caja de Comunidad was a tax collected in the amount of 1 real for the incurred expenses of the town in the construction of roads, repair of bridges of 1884 during Spanish era is the Cedula Personalis. Cedulas were issued based on the royal decree on March 6, 1884. All men and women, residents of the island, Spaniards, foreigners, and natives who were 18 years old were required to obtain a cedula.
Hi, by the way, I am Maria Victoria Esimpado. In today's presentation, I will discuss about how the taxation began in the Philippines and American era. By the way, how the taxation began in the Philippines? A year ago, when different foreign have conquered us, these are the Spanish and the American. But our ancestors came first to implement the concept of tax. At that time, our ancestors began paying taxes so that they could be protected for communities. During that time, it was necessary to pay taxes because they will be punished for those who will not pay taxes. In these objectives of the trade law, it was simple of tax system. Actually, President Rodrigo Duterte wants to be simple, make it fair, and more efficient. That's all.